In this world, a coffee costs 4 minutes of your life. Not your money, not your savings account. Your actual life. The clock on your arm hits 0. You drop dead, right there, on the sidewalk. No warning, no second chance. You don't get sick first. You don't feel it coming. You just stop. And here's the part that should terrify you most. The rich have figured out how to live forever, while everyone else is checking their wrist just to afford breakfast. This is not a warning about the future. This is already the logic of our world, just made visible. This is in time. Let's establish exactly how this world works, because the mechanics are where the horror lies. In Andrew Niccol's 2011 film, Genetic Engineering Has Solved Aging, every human being stops aging at 25. At that moment, on your 25th birthday, a bioluminescent clock activates on your left forearm. It glows green. It counts down from 1 year. 1 year, that's all you get for free. After that, you work, you earn time, you spend time, you sleep less to save time. Time is the only currency. A coffee, 4 minutes. Bus fare, 2 hours. A decent apartment, 1 month a week, just to keep the lights on. Now here's where the psychology gets interesting. Niccol isn't just being clever with a metaphor. He's exposing the actual architecture of how economic anxiety functions in real life. In our world, we trade hours of our life for wages. We call it earning a living. But what does that phrase actually mean? It means your life is the asset. Your time is the price. In Time doesn't invent this concept. It just removes the abstraction. The society is geographically stratified. The poor live in the ghetto zones, a labyrinth of crumbling apartments, flickering lights, and permanent urgency. Nobody sleeps in. Nobody lingers. Everyone moves with a specific, frenetic energy of someone who is perpetually close to broke. The rich live in New Greenwich, a pristine, silent world of marble lobbies, slow dinners, and centuries banked on their forearms. They don't run. They never run. Why would they? They have all the time in the world. Think about that image, running versus not running, and you already understand the entire class system of this film. Our protagonist is Will Salas, played by Justin Timberlake. Will is 28, though he looks 25, because everyone looks 25. He lives in the ghetto with his mother, Rachel, played by Olivia Wilde, who is, disconcertingly, the same age as her son in appearance. This is one of In Time's most quietly devastating choices. A mother who looks like your peer, who you could lose with the same sudden finality as a stranger on the street. Will works. He earns. He scrambles. And every night, he comes home and transfers some of his time to his mother, keeping her alive the way you top up a prepaid phone. The emotional weight of that image is enormous. It means love in this world is not a feeling. Love is a transaction. Love is giving someone your hours. Then Will meets a man named Henry Hamilton, a man who has lived 105 years and is done. Not broke. Done. Tired. Hamilton has over a century on his arm, and he transfers it all to Will while Will sleeps. Before dawn, Hamilton walks to a bridge and lets his clock run to 0. This is the film's first and most important philosophical moment. Hamilton isn't a villain. He isn't suffering. He's made a choice that challenges a core assumption of the system, that more time is always better. He has lived 105 years in a 25-year-old body, and he is exhausted by the performance of it. Will wakes up with a century on his arm, and a dead man's guilt draped over his shoulders. He tries to get home to his mother, who is about to time out. And hey, in a single scene, Niccol does something brutal. Will is 1 minute too late. His mother's clock hits 0 on a street corner, and she collapses into his arms. Not dramatically, not cinematically. She just stops, like a phone powering down. And Will is left holding a body that still looks like a 25-year-old woman. If that doesn't rearrange something in your chest, I don't know what will. Let's pause the story here, because the film is giving us something most action movies never bother with, an actual explanation of how oppression sustains itself. Philip Weiss, the film's oligarch, played by Vincent Carthaser, explains it plainly. The system is designed to keep time scarce. If everyone had enough time to live forever, the planet would collapse under the weight of an immortal population. So the interest rates are calibrated. The cost of living is engineered to creep up just fast enough that the poor can never accumulate. They are meant to die on schedule. It's not poverty as a side effect. It's poverty as a policy. Now this is where I want you to sit with something uncomfortable. Nickel is not writing dystopian fantasy here. He is describing, in transparent, literal terms, the logic of planned obsolescence in human economies, the deliberate underfunding of public systems, the design of debt traps, the way rent, healthcare, and education are priced not at what people can pay, but at exactly the point that keeps them perpetually behind. The clock on Will's arm is a metaphor, but the machine behind it isn't. The timekeepers, this film's equivalent of police, enforce the system. Their job isn't safety. Their job is to ensure that time doesn't flow upward. Raymond Leon, played by Cillian Murphy, is the most compelling of them. He grew up poor. He earned his way into enforcement. And now he hunts people not out of cruelty, but because he has genuinely internalized the rules. Leon is what happens when someone inside a broken system mistakes the system for justice. He is, in many ways, the film's most tragic character, more than Will, more than Rachel. Fueled by grief and armed with a century he didn't own, Will heads to New Greenwich, not to assimilate, to see the enemy up close. He is immediately identified as an outsider, not by his face, everyone looks the same, but by how he moves. He walks too fast. He grips his drink too tight. The wealthy can always smell the poor, even when the poor look exactly like them. At a high-stakes poker game where players bet years of their lives, Will meets Philip Weiss and his daughter, Sylvia, played by Amanda Seyfried. Sylvia is bored in the way that only the eternally comfortable can be. She has centuries on her arm and nothing meaningful to spend them on. Will wins the game. He wins big. And then, because the plot needs momentum and because Will is a man shaped by grief and adrenaline, he takes Sylvia hostage during a timekeeper raid. What starts as a hostage situation evolves, gradually, then all at once, into a partnership. Sylvia isn't fragile. She's been waiting for someone to show her what the world actually looks like outside the marble and silence. She chooses a revolution, not because Will convinces her, but because the revolution was already inside her, starved for evidence. Together, they begin robbing Weiss's time banks, enormous vaults holding centuries of accumulated time, and distributing it freely into the ghetto zones. This is the film's Robin Hood pivot. And here's the analytical question worth asking. Does stealing time from the rich and giving it to the poor actually fix anything? The film is honest about this. When 1,000,000 years floods into the ghetto, prices spike overnight. The system recalibrates. The establishment adapts. You can't fix an architecture of exploitation by simply redistributing the product it runs on. You have to dismantle the architecture itself. In Time understands this. It's why the ending is ambiguous, because real structural change doesn't have an ending montage. Leon relentlessly pursues Will and Sylvia across zone lines, and in doing so, he begins to fracture. He arrests Sylvia. He drains Will's time to near zero. And in a quietly devastating sequence, Will is left with less than an hour on his arm, running in literal circles around a track trying to win back enough time just to survive the next 60 minutes. This is the film's most nakedly metaphorical scene. Running to stay alive, burning time to save time. It's a hamster wheel rendered as life and death stakes. And the horror of it lands because we recognize the rhythm. We have all, at some point, run just to stay still. Will escapes. He finds Sylvia. They break back into the most heavily guarded vault in New Greenwich, her father's personal reserve, and they take it all. Centuries. Millennia. Leon catches up to them. He's cornered them. He has seconds left on his own arm, and rather than ask for time, rather than accept help from the people he spent the entire film chasing, he lets himself run out. That scene is not a throwaway. Cillian Murphy plays it without drama, just a quiet decision. The last act of a man who enforced a system until the system consumed him. He believed in the rules so completely that he died by them. That is not a villain's death. That is a tragedy. Andrew Niccol has said in interviews that In Time came from a simple question. What if time were money, literally, But the film that emerged from that question is more sophisticated than its premise suggests. At its core, In Time is a film about attention, about where society directs its collective gaze. The wealthy in New Greenwich are not evil in the conventional sense. They don't plot in shadowy rooms. They simply don't look. They have built environments so insulated from consequence that the suffering of others becomes, quite literally, invisible. They don't see the ghetto, and what you can't see, you can't feel responsible for. Will and Sylvia's revolution is, at its heart, a project of visibility, of forcing the machinery into the open. Every time they empty a vault and flood a ghetto, they are not solving the problem. They are making the problem undeniable. And here is a logic breakdown that the film is quietly running under the action. A system that requires constant human loss to function is not a functioning system. It is a machine. And machines don't have consciences. People do. In Time asks, at what point does surviving inside the machine make you complicit in it? That question has no clean answer. That's why it stays with you. So here's the question I'm leaving you with. Will and Sylvia are still out there at the end of this film. Still running, still robbing, still redistributing. But the system is still standing. The timekeepers are still training new recruits. The vaults are being refilled. Is their rebellion heroic, or is it just a more dramatic way of losing slowly? And here's the one that actually keeps me up at night. If your clock started counting down the moment you woke up tomorrow, how much of what you did today was actually worth the minutes? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know. And if you think time is the one currency no one figured out how to steal back yet, subscribe to Plot Unraveled. We'll keep pulling at the thread.